Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to Global Ventures here on Planet Coaster. Welcome to the brand new launched coaster of the park as well. I hinted about this last episode, but now it is real. This is, actually I'll tell you the name in a second. The name is also the title of the video, so you'll already know it. But this is kind of the second stage of the hiding the berm around the edge of Legend of the Frontier. I wanted to build a building along this this sort of median here, so that when you're in the City of the Future section, it just looks like a normal building and a normal street in the middle of Japan. But I wanted to build something inside the building as well to give it a bit of operational interest, shall we say. And the idea that I had was originally to build a motorbike launched coaster indoors, kind of like Tron Light Cycle Run, but not obviously Tron based. I'm saying too much, sorry about that. I nearly said it again. The idea was to put a launch coaster inside a building, you know, decorate it a little bit, make it look quite cool, and then I did it again. I'm just going to keep doing it now. It's too much of a habit, I can't stop. But then I had the idea, why don't I build an accelerator coaster, Intamin accelerator coaster, and an old school Intamin accelerator coaster as well. Not one of those modern magnetic fancy ones, but one of the old hydraulic raw power ones. Because at the end of the day, I prefer mechanical stuff to electronic, and especially over electromagnetic. So why not build a proper Intamin launch coaster? Now, I said last episode about record breaking, and this is a record breaker. For two reasons, I suppose. One, it's probably got the shortest launch track of any Intamin accelerator in the world, apart from maybe Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. And secondly, it is going to be the world's tallest roller coaster. The drop height, I'm trying to remember, the actual drop height itself is not that tall. I'm trying to read the numbers on the screen. It goes from 400 odd, no, 600 odd there, but I do change the height of the tower a little bit after I build this first pass of the ride. As you know me by now, I build the ride and then I tinker with it to my heart's content. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so it's about 500 foot tall off the ground. The actual tower itself, maybe 480 something. The record currently in real life is 458 feet, and that's King the Car, say it right, at Six Flags Great Adventure. So that was the target, was to beat that. I wanted to go for the world's fastest roller coaster as well, but you need a tower that's like 1,000 foot tall, because the record for that is 149 miles an hour, which is Formula Rossa at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi. And that is a hard one to beat, because Formula Rossa doesn't actually go up a tower like most of the other accelerators do. Formula Rossa actually has trim brakes immediately after the launch, which then goes into the rest of the ride, and it's all sort of, I was about to say swirls and helices, but that kind of doesn't do it justice. Very highly forceful banked turns, and a couple of airtime moments as well. So I wanted to kind of do a mix of both. Originally I wanted to actually build the tower elsewhere on the ride. So you would launch, you'd go around a couple of corners, maybe have a grey out or blackout section, and then you would hit the tower. So the tower itself would have been quite small in comparison, because you'd have lost a lot of momentum by then. Then I realised that what a focal point it would be to have the world's tallest coaster in your park. And I think everyone who plays Planet Coaster has dreamed of that. Whether or not they've gone ahead and actually done it or not, I don't know. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to give it a crack and see what, whether I could do it or not. So this is it. This is Shinkansen, themed on the Japanese bullet train of the same name. And I really would be terrified of this coaster if it existed in real life. Some of the forces are a little extreme. I think it pulls up to like 7 Gs at the base of the helix, which you're about to see me build. There it is. I do reshape that a little bit as well. I removed some of the pathing in the street there, in the center of the road, so that the support structure of the ride can actually be built. It's a bit of an eyesore this section here where it flies over Tech Tours. Obviously Tech Tours isn't finished yet, and that's one of the reasons it's a bit of an eyesore, because you know, you just got these supports that just go on forever. Obviously there'll be a roof of the building there, and then the supports will go onto the roof of the building. I might even do custom supports in that section there just to make it look a little bit better. Same with the rest of the ride, really. I might do custom supports for a lot of it just to make it look a little bit more realistic, shall we say, with regards to how the ride is supported. But yeah, this thing pulls some forces. I get a bit tired on the coaster community on Reddit of people talking about forceless roller coasters, because I mean, these people do realize that's physically impossible, right? Every roller coaster has a force acting upon it, even if it's just the force of gravity on one of the kiddie coasters. That's still a force. No roller coaster in the world is forceless, but this one is forceful, believe me. So it accelerates from 0 to 135 miles per hour in roughly 3 seconds. I'll have to time that, actually, because that might be a record breaker as well. Fastest accelerating coaster. I think Dododompa's pretty much got that one. Pretty much unbeaten. That thing is quite something. But yeah, it goes up the 500 odd foot tower, comes back down the tower. It pulls quite a few G's at the bottom of the tower as well, which is one reason why I actually shortened. Oh, hello. What's that? It's one of the reasons why I actually shortened the tower, was not so much the forces at the bottom of the tower when you come back down, but the forces at the bottom of the tower on the way up. It was pulling something like 10G, and it was only doing it for like 0.5 of a second, if that. But that is quite a lot of force on a roller coaster. I think the world record for forces on a roller coaster is 6G. To put that in perspective, I'll have to look this up actually. I think astronauts on shuttles, when or you know, even the SpaceX launch quite recently, during takeoff, I think it was somewhere between 2 and 4G, and that's for a sustained period of time, of course. But on a roller coaster, 6G is a lot. And Tower of Terror, which I believe has now been renamed, at Gold Reef City in South Africa, that pulled 6G, and I think Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion, I think that pulls like 6G as well. But as people have pointed out, that's an enthusiast coaster. It was not built really for the general public, which is one of the reasons why it's not really been that successful in terms of drawing GP to the park. Anyway, I'm not going to blag on about that. So yeah, the coaster is now pretty much a mainstay on the Skyline of the park. I'll be really interested in hearing what you guys think about this coaster, because the whole time I was building the first stage of it, I really wasn't sure about it. But the more I've looked at it since, and the more I've kind of, you know, started building the station building and stuff like that, it really feels like it was meant to be part of this area of the park. And I don't believe in fate or destiny or anything like that, but I kind of get that vibe from this sometimes, where it just feels like it was meant to happen at some point. And it does a really good job. The station building especially does a really good job of covering up this berm that I was talking about. So this is me starting to build the station building now. There is a gift shop at the exit, although it's very small. I think I need to make it bigger. There's a really nice queue line, which is not very themed at the moment. And there's a few other things that's kind of gone into this. I really like this station building, actually. It's very simple in its design, but that's all you needed to do, really, for this, was make it simple in design, because it's meant to resemble a bullet train station, and it does that pretty well. So in that case, it's a massive hit. Plus the old brickwork here that's going in, it's kind of partially based on the station building that I've built in the Somerset Avenue street outside the park. For those who don't know, that's the name of the kind of avenue that links the railway station and the the taxi rank and stuff. It's like kind of like the Disney Village or Disney Springs, or what is the California version called these days? Is it just Toontown or something still? I don't know. That's the one thing about Disney I don't know, actually. I know quite a lot about Disney. That's one thing that seems to have slipped me. But yeah, overall, this station building is really, really good. The theming, as I've said, inside it is quite basic, but the that will be changed. Yeah, I'll definitely add more theming in the future. But you know, every square inch of this building has walls, ceilings, floors, which is awesome. There is a priority queue as well. The fact that I've managed to fit so much of a queue line into this building is something that's quite impressive. At least in my opinion, it's quite impressive. And I think one thing I might do here is currently the exit path goes over the top of the entrance. In fact, you'll see it here. Mainly because I couldn't get it to turn 90 degrees outside of the exit, which I found quite annoying. So at the moment, the exit path comes down that side, and then the queue line goes on the inside, which is kind of okay, but I would have preferred it the other way around, because then I could build the gift shop behind the queue and have the entrance at the front of the building rather than at the side where it is currently. But I think that's a really small complaint to have, all things considered. And I mean, I need to download some gift shop stuff from the Theme Maker's Toolkit as well, so it's a bit empty inside right now. But yeah, I think, you know, overall, it's a good ride. It's a good ride. It's a good, you know, every theme park has kind of its top 6 in terms of coasters, and this is definitely in that bracket. I'd say the top 6 coasters in this park are Antony and Cleopatra. They count as 2. Rocky Mountaineer, Wildwood, Bandito, and Shinkansen. I'd say they're the 5. You have also got other coasters as well, like Manic Miner. Technically, Forest Falls is a coaster. It's a water coaster, but it's a coaster. And also Raid of the Fort as well, which I always forget about. It's the first coaster I built in the park as well, so it should hold a special place in the park's history. But I always kind of forget it exists. Every now and then I'll be sort of panning along the map and I'll think, what's that rumbling noise? And then I'll see it in the background and be like, oh yeah, Raid of the Fort. I do like that coaster though. It's just a shame I keep forgetting it exists. Right, so yes, this is the station building interior going in now. I really like this brick wall with the glass and steel. I have no idea whether this is typical with Japanese architecture. I'm feeling it isn't, and I'll probably have to go through and change it all. But I do, as a concept, I do quite like it. I think it fits this area of the park quite nicely. I will, you know, it's kind of stereotypical, but I will go in and build some pagoda-looking buildings. In fact, the roof of this building is meant to resemble a pagoda, and the building Tower 4 has that kind of thing as well. You know, just to make it look like this is Japan, because some of it doesn't. To be fair, some of it does, some of it doesn't. But yeah, the ride itself. I mean, how would I describe it? So, Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion is being dubbed an enthusiast coaster, mainly because of the first turn after the big drop off the lift hill. And it's a 305-foot coaster, in case you hadn't worked that out by the name. And it is crazy. It's like even the most hardened of coaster riders black out on that first turn, to the point where Intamin actually came back in a year after it opened and rebuilt or reprofiled the curve to try and stop that from happening. They also added trim brakes on the drop. You know, they went to real drastic measures to try and stop this coaster making people black out. And when the manufacturer are admitting they've made a mistake, and when that manufacturer is Intamin as well, because very rarely do Intamin admit that they've made an error. So when that happens, it's pretty extreme. So that gives you an idea as to how crazy that coaster is. I think Shinkansen pulls more G's than I-305. And it's an Intamin, so it had to. It's the law. Intamin coasters have to be absolutely insane. But yeah, I think if this existed in a real-life park, I think people would be scared of it. Non-enthusiasts would be scared of it. Maybe even enthusiasts would be scared of it. Because in the real world, Dododonpa in Japan, enthusiasts who've been on every coaster in the world, no matter how janky it is, how fast, how many inversions, no matter what, every enthusiast has been on every coaster, but they still get intimidated by Dododonpa. It is the fastest accelerating coaster in the world. I think it goes from like 0 to 100 in 1.5 seconds or something. Just absolutely insane. That is the power of compressed air. This coaster, I think, comes close. I don't think it beats the record, but I think it comes bloody close. And just the fact that it's kind of tucked away. You know, the station building itself is kind of hidden. We don't really shout about it. We don't really say this is Shinkansen. It's just here. It exists, and it kind of fits in with the theme of the park, which is each ride is supposed to fit in with its surroundings, and this is meant to be just a bullet train station, Shinkansen station, in the middle of a theme park. You know, it's not supposed to shout about it. It's supposed to be quite discreet. Obviously, there will be a sign telling people that it exists here, but besides that, it just exists. This is something else that I tried, which is a little bit insane. 3-train operation. I've actually found a way to make it work, which is kind of crazy. All accelerator coasters, you queue on the brake run. That's just, again, it's like an Intamin law. But this one, I've tried to make... I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's called multi-move, which is where more than one train moves forward at a time. And this does exist on Intamin coasters. It exists on Millennium Force, for example, at Cedar Point. It's the actually, I think it exists on I-305 as well. I'm not sure, but it's basically where, as the blocks advance, they all advance at the same time. So as soon as the train in front starts moving, the train at the back starts moving, and they all move together at the same time. So it's like the reason it's called multi-move is because there's multiple trains moving, but it's also multiple blocks being activated at the same time. I've managed to get that to work on this coaster by sort of putting in... I mean, there's no life hack to it or anything, so don't get your hopes up there. But basically, what I've done is just put block sections in, really small block sections along the I can't speak. Put small block sections along the route. So halfway along the brake run, there's a block section. At the bottom of the trim brakes, there's a block section, and just before the entrance to the station, there's a block section. And that means as soon as the train launches, which is, you can see one on the launch track there, as soon as that one launches, the one behind it will move. Actually, as soon as it leaves the station, I should say, the one behind it will move into the station, and then the one that's just arriving on the first trim brakes, as the one in front of it starts advancing, it will just keep moving. So you're constantly moving until you're queuing up directly outside the station. So it's not like you'll sit still for a second, move forward, sit still for a second, move forward. I wanted to try and avoid that, mainly because the brake is actually outside, and I didn't want people to be sitting in the rain, for example, because it gets quite wet and miserable. So I tried to make it so that you're not sitting outside waiting for too long, and I think it's worked to an extent. This is the pagoda style roof that I was talking about. Now I'm actually looking at it. It doesn't look very pagoda-y at all, but it does kind of look quite Japanese in that, you've got the flowing metal roof. Even the simplest of buildings in Japan have this kind of architectural style to them, and it's something I probably should do more research on. But you can see what I mean about quite a discreet building. There's a gift shop in there, there's a queue, but besides that, you wouldn't really know it exists. It just sits there. And even the launch track, there's going to be another building that sits in front of the launch track. It's only when it crosses over the pathway just before tech tours that you will actually see the launch. And I kind of wanted to hide that because, again, as gimmicky as it is, most Shinkansen tracks aren't open to public display. They tend to be just either threading through buildings or just hidden behind sound walls, whatever it might be. And this is no different. You have a bullet train line running through the middle of a city. You're going to try and hide it a little bit, mostly to dampen the sound. But again, going back to the station building quickly, I really like the openness of this building. It does feel like a station. It really does. So the downstairs is going to be the ticket office. I've kind of ripped off what I did in the Parisian section with the actual railway station, where the downstairs is going to be themed to a ticket office, and there's going to be a departures board. I might try and get an animated departures board that's written in Japanese. I'll have to make a video of it myself and put it on a billboard. It'll be fun to do, don't get me wrong. I'm starting to get into that side of things now. But yeah, I might have to just copy some generic phrases in Japanese and some place names. Although that's going to be tricky because I don't really want to use real place names. We'll see about that. But yeah, this open nature of the building here, I'm a big fan of. I like the way that you know, nothing here is hidden. It's quite open and it's quite obvious what this is. But it's meant to resemble a railway station. And you know, again, in real life railway stations, the platforms are just openly available. Right, so I'll be cutting to a POV now, so you guys can see what the coaster looks like and sounds like, because it has quite a nice sound to it as well. So sit back and enjoy that. But until next time, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series. Drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, and leave some feedback on Shinkansen as well if you wish. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.